Dr. Joy Elamon, who will be talking to us on the role of local government in ending this pandemic. Dr. Joy Elamon is a former member of the Syndicate of University of Kerala and is presently the Director General of Kerala Institute of Local Administration, KILA. Dr. Joy Elamon, please.
First of all, congrats to the Ajit and team for this one. And also thanks to the team for giving me an opportunity. Naturally, as the title indicates, I come from a different thematic area in a way. Probably the odd person out of this, with all the doctors and public health experts talking on the science aspects of COVID. And of course, this part also would be interesting or of interest, and so I will go on with that. So first of all, I am not going to comment on the title of the webinar or also whether it is the end of the pandemic or all, but anyway, end as well as beyond. And can you see this presentation?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. So I will go a little fast because I know that Ajit and Ritesh will actually catch my neck if I delay a bit. So I don't want to go in detail about all these things. The background, as all of you know, is something like this. There are some positive elements as far as the background is concerned, whether it is the Kerala development model or the public health system or the local government system. But when it comes to the present situation of the COVID-19, first it was considered to be an epidemic in China or somewhere like that. Then it became a pandemic, and then it becomes a national disaster. So it is declared as a national disaster. So naturally, every step is different in each of these stages we take. For example, at the moment in a pandemic, you all go by the isolation, testing, contact tracing, physical distancing, all what you have been talking about. So, that's one part of the story. But when it becomes a disaster, in the times of disaster, it is an emergency. It is like a war kind of thing, but I don't know whether it is a war situation at the moment. We need not be calling it a war, but it's an emergency kind of situation. There needs to be coordinated effort. And usually the principle is that uniform and non-uniform forces have to come together. There has to be a single point of command and all kinds of things. But another principle which is in vogue is actually, in disasters, who is the first respondent, who knows the area, who understands the community, who can reach the communities. See, that is where my theme would come in, where the local self-governments in Kerala or in other parts of the country, it's actually interesting. We always say about the local self-governments in Kerala, but what I have found is that during this time of the COVID-19, many of the local governments across the country have come forward and acted so that the entire local government system itself has got strengthened during this process, I would say. Anyway, many of the actions take place at the local level, whether it is awareness generation, the rapid response teams at the local level, gathering details, monitoring quarantine, and you can see many of these things which happen, the community kitchens, the daily stock taking, the reporting, and now the COVID first line treatment centers, which I will come to later. But how does this happen? See, it happens with the teamwork. Kudumbashree network is there, the health system staff is, all of these people are there, including the local government staff and the elected members. But the advantage we have is that at the local level, we have all these under a broad umbrella of local self-government system. And of course, this was not done in a day. We had a 24 or 25 years of history strengthening the local governments, especially the 2018 floods, where the local governments came into action. Some of them had gone into preparation of the local action plan on climate change. And when we had the first case in Wuhan in China, our local governments were preparing the local disaster management plans. So that had also been of use when we started engaging with the COVID-19. So it's a process which has happened. And how do they do? The local governments, how do they do? Because people also should know how things happen at the local level. It's not that everything is done by the local government. They do planning, they actually implement, they coordinate sometimes, they lead the show sometimes, they support other activities, they devolve certain functions, they delegate, they do the grievance dismissal. Finally, it's all about coordinating at the local level, and that is exactly what the local government system does at the moment. But as we move on, whether you call it end of the pandemic or towards the end of the pandemic or beyond, as all of you know and all of you have been talking, we need to have continued awareness generation, which can happen only at the local level, and prevention of misguided, unscientific information, which you have seen how it affects the communities. And the monitoring has to continue, the continued surveillance has to happen at the local level, and of course the sharing of the knowledge, change in attitude, in practice, all leading to behavioral change. See, I just heard, for example, Dr. Abraham has been mentioning about certain changes which has happened. So all these things have to happen at the local level by different agencies, and that exactly is what is going to. In fact, even for us, we have actually changed our behavior in terms of punctuality, for example. Now, if you don't attend the webinar at the right time, you're out, kind of thing. So that also happens. But these are all not only at the individual level, but we need to have this behavioral change at the community level. And that is where, again, the local governments have to play a major role in the future. And here, leave no one behind. Dr. Lam was mentioning about the sustainable development goals and all, but in this particular case also, the leave no one behind becomes important for all these activities which you are mentioning, because we can't do without that. And here, the support system has to continue at the local level. But the scale and magnitude is large. Dr. Srijit has been mentioned, the scale and magnitude is large. The health system cannot be burdened too much. At every level, to everyone, the support system has to attend. The strengthening the system at the local level, Dr. Srijit has been mentioning about a separate COVID cell or whatever name you call it. But for me, the strengthening the system at the local level is also very much important. There, improving the disaster management plan and the system. 30 seconds or 1 minute?
30 seconds, Doctor, 30 seconds.
I know what you are attempting. So improving the disaster management plan, which they have prepared the draft plan just during the December, January. Now they have to actually change it to address all these issues of magnitude. The volunteer force at the local level have been doing a great service at the moment, and building their capacities also become important in every aspect. And primary recovery activities have to continue, and for future surveillance, the COVID first line treatment center, the food security, especially food and livelihood security, I would say, the short-term measures would happen, but the long-term measures is where the Subiksha Kerala acts, and these things also happen at the local level. As you can see, we have to address many of these issues in the long term, even to address the COVID or related aspects. And that is where, at the moment, the local governments are actually working on certain other things also, especially some of the issues which I mentioned just now. They are into the elderly clubs, the Clean Kerala, 12,000 public toilets, and local employment assurance programs, and the organic vegetables, palliative care, and disaster management plan, and community volunteer force. So we are actually thinking about a long-term strategy. It is not just the end of COVID alone. We need to be ready with capacities to address the issues to come through. So, and there, local is also very important, as we have understood over the 2018 floods, as well as the COVID-19 situation. And it is here that the local governments can play a major role, coordinating everyone together at the local level. And we shall overcome. That's what I want to say. Thank you.